Welcome to Women at Halftime podcast, but not just for women, for you men too. If you're at mid-career or the halftime of life, our inspirational topics are not only fun, but also meant to help you maximize and write your next chapter. Right here with me, Deborah Johnson. Well, hello. It's great to be here with you today. Greg and I are together, our once a month time together, and I have asked him to do something very special today. Our focus in the Women at Halftime podcast is not just for women, it's also for men. For those who are at mid-career, at the halftime of life, really asking what's next. And I have a new book coming out called Stop Circling. And actually, I printed out a copy of the cover, but you can see that if you were on the video, you can see it right behind me here, Stop Circling. And I thought it would be great. Greg is wonderful at asking questions, and hopefully I can answer them all today. But he's got a good interview style. And I thought of anybody that I want to interview me when this book is just coming out, it would be you. And it's just released as this is coming out. So you want to watch for the links in the article. It's on Amazon. It'll have all the versions, of course, hardbound, paperback, and ebook and Audible book. So would love you to at least check it out. You can always view it. So Greg, thanks for being with me.
You're welcome. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
That's an awful big introduction that she gave me.
I know.
So she's got a new book out, Stop Circling. And hopefully by the time we finish here, you will have a great idea of whether you were stuck and feel like you're circling in life, and you could use some practical help how to get out of that circle. So that is her hope. Yes. And so to get started, you've had some experience with circling. So this title comes from like deep personal pain that Debbie experienced many, many, many years ago. And I think you should tell them about it.
Oh, yes. Well, I have a lot of driving experiences, and this was one. And the reason I even thought of the roundabout was because when I was first learning to drive, driver training, way back in the dark ages, we had to drive on the traffic circle in Long Beach, California. It was not a roundabout then, it was a traffic circle. There's a distinction, and I put that distinction in the book. It's now a roundabout. They've turned in those traffic circles to roundabout because they're much safer.
So what though caused your pain?
The hesitancy in not only getting on to that traffic circle because it came in perpendicular, but getting off.
Now, as I recall, you had quite the driver's education teacher.
Yeah. So I was not happy. I couldn't get off. I was scared to exit, really scared to exit. And our whole class we did not look forward to it was, in fact, it was known as being really dangerous. And he was taking us to this dangerous place. So I really thought of those feelings way back then of that traffic of spinning and circling. And I identified that feeling with what a lot of people are feeling like when they are kind of questioning that what's next, or they just feel stuck.
Yeah, because you had a feeling of, no, your teacher told you, get off here.
Yeah, get off.
And you couldn't get off. So you had that feeling of what it means to be stuck in life, knowing you need to exit, but completely incapable of doing so.
Yeah.
So
fear, just afraid.
Now, panic might have been part of it.
Yeah, it was probably part of it too. Yeah, the panic and the fear.
So. Panic. You got to remember, she was 15 and 15 and just learning to drive.
Yeah, so. Right. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's when she thinks about people struggling with fear in their careers or in their lives and just stuck or circling, unable to move forward, she pulls back to those feelings, and she's deeply driven to help people get away from those feelings, to give them tools that'll help them do that. So as we move on, try to describe the person that you're thinking about in a couple of the life situations that maybe they're internally processing in their minds.
Really good question. And this is why I'm having you do this. It's a very good question, because you might be thinking, I feel a little stuck, but I don't think I'm just really circling. But there are people that I have been working with and have worked with that are in this situation. Maybe they're in a great job. It's paying well, but they're just not fulfilling what they feel like they should be doing. They're not even tapping what their abilities are, and they're wondering, do I really need to stay here? I got in it's a good paying situation. I'm really tempted, but I'm just anxious, or they find themselves, and a lot of people are this right now. And the statistics are with some of the big companies. I've worked with Disney for a very, very long time. And there are Disney employees now, they're asking them to come back to the office. Well, they've been used to working virtually. I'm really happy doing that. Now, do I really want? Some people might have moved away already and working virtually. Now, what are you going to do? Okay, you're at that point like, oh no, what do I do now? Do I really want to go back? Do I want to just tell them like, I'm not going to do it? Or shall we try to work this out? And others that are just feeling like, wow, I've had a big wake up call in the past couple of years. And I feel like, I want to do something else for the next 20 years. And these are the people that they're still they're going around, but I'm afraid to do anything else. I've got all of these, I've got the bills, I've got the responsibilities, I've got, where do I go? What do I do next? So it's for those people.
So if you see somebody who's been at the same job, kind of rolling their eyes for the last 5, 6, 7 years,
Yeah.
and you realize that they are sitting on talents, experience, gifts, how do you feel?
I want to encourage them, first of all. I really
You want to encourage everybody.
I do. But to really think differently, to not just stay in that same place thinking, okay, I'm just stuck here for the rest of my life. To say, there could be more possibilities. What could I do? And hopefully this, the thinking about this and the books that I've written about going to, your hero mountain and your summit, and think a little bit differently, like, well, maybe I can do something else. What are my skills? I'm not even starting to tap those skills.
Right.
People discount their skills. There's this big thing of, I'm not good enough, or I'm the imposter, and all of this. That is fake.
Did you see that passion right there? That is fake. I'll give you a little glimpse behind the curtain. When Debbie sees people pretending that they're somehow happy with life, while they're sitting on their gifts and talents, she gets perturbed.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
So that's what drives her. Is she wants to encourage, but she would never do this, but that's what she's feeling. And I might do that, but she would. So if you see people as stuck and circling, what kinds of mindsets tend to keep them, circling? When you were going around the roundabout in driver's ed, you didn't have the tools or the skills to exit that thing on command.
Mm-mm.
And I'm going to guess that people in life that are circling, are they going through similar things? What kind of mindsets?
Well, they're not in some sort of a growth mindset that's open to possibilities. It's easy to get to that stage, by the way. It's easy to think, I really have no options, and you might, if you have really gone through all of those steps, you might be at the place where you really need to be. But I also talk about those who are in that same place, but you can still have a growth mindset and you can expand where you're at and into, different areas, and I talk a lot about a side business. Doesn't even have to be a full business, but you can expand some areas to fulfill what you feel is part of your life missions, and going on these. Even I give some examples for even as a nurse that had worked in a nursing field all of her whole life and then started going with the Nursing Beyond Borders and doing some different things that really fulfilled some of that passion that she had inside. And that some people are afraid to even go there and look at the options really viably too, not just springing for it and just going, but looking logically. And I go through a lot of those steps, but that's to where I think I answered your question.
Yeah. Although it brings up, so if people circling don't have the skills, and because they don't have the skills, they're stuck in fear. How does your book help them, have the skills? I mean, what do you go into?
Well, you go through step by step, first of all, and it's a very much a book that also has an application guide in it. You don't have to buy a separate book for an application guide.
Is that your inner teacher coming out?
That's my inner teacher, my inner educator. I've been teaching a long time, actually. So, but I feel it's important for application. A lot of people read and never apply it. And I mean, you can write in the book. You should do that. But the application of those step by step, and really looking at your position first. And we go through something called the Haffer's tool. And this is very similar to a soundboard. I mean, I have a big background in music and it has all those steps with your health, your attitude, your finances. You're going to go through those steps and evaluate them personally, very simply, but personally, and see where you are in that sort of situation with all of, because sometimes you think, now there's a little something wrong, but I can't define what's holding me back.
And the Haffer tool will help you define what's holding you back?
That will help hold you back. And I do put a disclaimer at the end. If you need psychological help or others, please get it, or financial, go to a financial professional. But it will help you evaluate, at least where you're at. And then to get the second step is perspective, and getting the perspective you need. And that can come from a number of different sources. It doesn't have to come from a professional coach. It can come from, a sounding board with a group of colleagues and friends that you really trust and that know you. The reason I asked Greg to interview me is because he knows me so well. He knows what I'm about. And I think having those sort of people on your team, not everyone has a spouse like that, but having those people, friends, I have friends that know me as well. They will ask me tough questions. So getting that sort of perspective you need, and then defining the purpose and really, why would you want to do something else? What would you want to do? And that is that last step. And that's usually driven by your core values. And I put a whole extra chapter in the book because I felt like a lot of people have not spent time, at least recently, with really evaluating their core values. They say, oh yeah, I know what I'm about. But have you stopped to really think? And we went through really defining those in a couple of buckets there of really specific on core values, and that will help to drive your purpose. And so hopefully you would get a lot more clarity throughout the book and doing all of those exercises.
So it sounds like the Haffer tool kind of helps you figure out where you're at, as opposed to where you're going. Where you're at, it gives you an idea of, do I have any skills? Do I have any, transferable experiences? And then if you help figure out their values, then you can kind of step back and ask, okay, given that I've got all this, where do I want to go? Is that kind of what you're wanting to do?
It is. You have two levels on that Haffer's tool that you identify. Your point A, where you are, and your point B, where you want to be. And I emphasize, you don't just put 100% for everything. You want to move up is what you want to do.
So when you talk about where you want to be, do you help with the planning? Because I would guess that a lot of fear comes from not having a plan you can believe in.
Right. Not only that you can believe in, but that's you're able to be successful at.
Right.
And you're able to measure. And so, yes.
So you'll help them with planning?
Yes, there's a separate part in the application that you actually go through making your plan. Where are you going to start? What are you going to do the next month? How are you going to apply these steps? Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
good. And, I don't know. Do they have access to email you if they get stuck?
Well, they do, but yeah, hopefully they would be able to work through. I'm always accessible through my website. Okay. Always. The goalsforyourlife.com, DeborahJohnsonSpeaker.com, even my music site. You can.
So this sounds like a book that you'd kind of own and wear for a while.
It is. And I would encourage groups to go through this together, to encourage each other in this process, because the application can go step by step, and for people sharing that together, it could be a great little project for that. Yeah. Yeah.
At the middle of life, one of the things that Debbie and I have talked about is that many of us read too much and think too little.
Yeah.
And, if you can read 2 or 3 really good books and get to where you own them, because you think about it, you chew on it, that can be helpful. And it sounds like this book might be one of those.
It really is. And I think we talked about why we already talked about why I wrote the book, but the reason why I thought the actual full book was important was that I had already written about Hero Mountain, and I'd already written about climbing your summit. And Hero Mountain is in the book Women at Halftime. And if you've seen any of my books, you can see that behind me too. Yeah. But here's the print copy. And that goes through the steps on Hero Mountain, which also covers mindset. It covers purpose, competency, and skills, habits, and relationships, all of those steps. And then I wrote about the summit, which is an allegory, and it's a little story that tells how to go to your summit, your Hero Mountain. But
so that little book, The Summit, I'm going to brag. She did a great job putting together a story of somebody taking the principles in Women at Halftime. She took the principles and she weaved them into a wonderful journey. And if you would like to, enjoy some entertaining reading, she did a great job.
Yeah. And it's really, I've had such reviews that it could be good for all ages. And the statistic right now with young women and how the depression and how they're struggling. And the summit is a clean, a very easy to follow book that can really have application for their lives. In fact, I'm thinking I need to take a step back and do a full application guide for that book, because it's
it sounds like, though, that's what the circling is.
Yes, this book is really very much of that application, because people are not even ready to start climbing their summits. Yeah, they're still circling. They can't even think, I can't go to Hero Mountain yet. I can't even climb my summit because I'm stuck. And that's why this book was so very important to put out, especially with all of the application, with all of the steps and the easy to follow. I wanted to make sure it was easy. I can struggle sometimes with being clever because I'm an artist, but I wanted it to be very, very clear and easy to follow. There's not a lot of, you have to think, because you have to think for yourself. That's important. And I think that point that you said, that we don't stop to think, is really an important one right now. There's so much content all the time. We're flooded with content, but how much are we really, really applying?
So it sounds like you've seen a lot of people that look like they're just circling in life or their careers. They're stuck. And that elicited a feeling of wanting to help and encourage. Right. And so the book Stop Circling, if I got it, gives you tools to help you figure out where you are and why. Why are you circling? Who are you? What else could you do? Then it helps you put together a plan.
Yes.
If you're willing to take a step,
Right.
put together a plan. And then it gives you ways to measure whether you're accomplishing that plan. Is that right?
Exactly. With your A, you're going from your A to your B, and also getting the help, that you may need for creating that plan.
Right.
With the right perspective, we look at different perspectives and how they can influence you and play out. And then we also look at purpose and what that means, the difference between purpose and mission and how it's important in all of our lives. It doesn't have to be real involved and complicated. It can be very simple. And that might have just changed a little bit through the years. And you might be at that stage where you had that wake up call thinking, I need, and I've talked to a lot of people like this. Oh, okay, I'm just doing a total reinvention right now. And you don't have to reinvent everything. I bring this point up too. You might be in that path where you need to stay, but yet expand.
Yeah.
And it's okay for that. You don't have to just change everything.
For most of us, when we first started our careers, our mission was to make enough money to put food on the table. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you can remember writing your first resume, but do you remember the blank piece of paper? Yeah, it's trying to come up with any reason why anybody should hire you was hysterical. However, at halftime in life, you've got lots of things to put on that piece of paper. And it sounds like your book helps you kind of put that stuff down. So a lot of times the most important sale you'll ever make is yourself. Yeah. And being able to write down all of the things that you bring to the table and can bring either to another company or to your own new company is a big step in the right direction, right?
It totally is.
And once you get that, let's talk just a little bit about mission, because you can, once you successfully manage the first part of your life, you've got enough money that your mission can shift from just eating.
Yes.
To go ahead.
And to making maybe a difference. You might want to be able to give more of your time. I know a lot of people like this. All of a sudden they want to be able to give a little bit more, give back. They may want to start. I have some very wonderful colleagues that have decided to start a nonprofit and to help other businesses.
Yeah, and the help doesn't always have to be nonprofit. No. Because I think you'll eventually figure out that you bring something to the marketplace that nobody else does. Yes. That can be fulfilling, right?
I have another friend that started, it's not a nonprofit, but she started working with a certain area of disability. Mm-hmm. And with some of the contacts she ended up making, she ended up on like the state board. She didn't have to start the nonprofit. Right. And she can give her time to that. She still has another little business on the side.
But she also had a lot of experience.
And a personal experience, not only the ability in her experiences as a former nurse practitioner and all of that, but she also has a daughter that has disabled kids in that same sort of vein. Yeah. So she had this passion that developed. I mean, there are a lot of people that have developed different passions for a certain area just because of a life experience they've had. I just had an appointment with somebody that has a new book coming out, and I encouraged her. I said, this is such a tough story that you were telling because it's more of a memoir. I said, you have to leave people with hope. Make sure you leave people with hope. And she said, yeah, it's a little tough to read, but that's part of her mission right now. She decided, I have to do this, and she's working other jobs, but it's something that she could do on the side. And it takes time, it takes effort, and to be able to have that sort of effect, I mean, I'm excited about that. I hope it really helps a lot of other people get beyond a lot of their issues in their life by reading her book.
Mhm. Well, we kind of unveiled what your heart is,
Yeah.
and we've done an overview of the book. Now that we've done that, what do you hope that people feel and are able to take away after reading Stop Circling?
Well, I want people to feel that there's hope and that they can go on. Now, in the Summit book, I just happen to have one here. I didn't even know this was unexpected, but there is the Band of Hope that I put in. This is a little band that's in the Summit book, and I provide in live engagements for the little Band of Hope. But I want to provide that hope that people have a step-by-step. These steps can be, you can go through these steps over and over again because you're not going to just have one roundabout in your life. I've experienced several different roundabouts, and not just several, but I mean, in projects, when I was producing one of my musicals, I've had to where I just felt like I stood in the corner. I didn't know what to do. I was stuck. And working through all of those little steps, and it's not like I have a book right there, but I was able to understand the principles enough to be able to apply those to be able to move forward. And so that is my hope, that people would have some sort of a simple way to say, and give them hope to say, I can do this. I am good enough. I'm not an imposter. Look at my skills. Look at where I have come from. And I cover this even in Climbing Your Hero Mountain in the Summit in the Women at Halftime book, because we talk about that core competency and your skills. But again, you need to at least accept them at this point.
Good.
Did I sum that up? Okay.
Yeah, I think you did. So you've answered all of my questions. So go ahead and land this thing.
I'm going to land the plane. And it's a little side note here. I decided not to have another piece of my husband's amazing cheesecake because of the phlegm, but I still struggle with it a little bit, but that was great. But thank you so much. You can see what a great interview this was and the questions that you asked. Greg knows me really well, and that's what makes a great interviewer as well, and understanding who you are interviewing. So I hope at least you check out Stop Circling, that you're able to do the look inside, you're able to listen to the audiobook or look into the ebook a little bit, and be able to get it for yourself, get it for some friends who are also stuck. You can get on my newsletter, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. Very easy to sign up. It's absolutely free. You will get the weekly articles and all sorts of songs that I put out as well, putting out more and more sheet music and DJ Works music, of course, which is fun. And Deborah Johnson speaker. I do take a certain number per year of live engagements as well as virtual engagements. I love what I do, and I planned on working for a very long time, yes, unless Greg says, you know what, I think your mind is just going, but you better not say that.
I probably won't say that.
You probably won't say that out loud at least. So thank you everyone for joining us. And we're on once a month. We have some great subjects coming up together. And so I hope you check in every week, though. I have some great interviews, and then I speak twice a month on this podcast, Women at Halftime. So thanks again for joining us, and bye for now.
Thank you for joining us. It is because of our wonderful listeners like you that we keep going strong week after week. We'd love it if you'd share and follow us to not miss a single show, and even write a review. You can also find all of our articles, products, and links at womenathalftime.com.